Hello, everybody. This is Angel Arts, and welcome to the second episode of Let's Talk Telltale's The Walking Dead, the final season for episode 2. If you are watching this around the time that this game has been released, I'm sure you are well up to date on what's been going on with Telltale Games as a studio. As of this recording, they have decided to close down their doors, and we're not going to dwell too much on the topic of Telltale closing too much on this video unless it naturally has something to do with what we're talking about in the game itself. But if you're interested in watching a Let's Hang or Let's Hang discussion on what happened to Telltale and Telltale Games in general, there is a link, I'll put it up on this screen somewhere, of that conversation that I had with several people. And you can certainly get all that you want about that topic at that point. It's kind of fitting, as you can see, we have two people with us today, Alex and Lucky Jack. They will be joining us in this conversation in episode 2. And it's kind of fitting that these two are the ones that are going to be joining us because they were unable to join us for the Let's Hang. So this way they can put in some of their 2 cents on what happened to Telltale that they weren't able to talk about with us before. But we're going to save most of that conversation as much as possible for the end so that we can focus on episode 2, the topic at hand. So before we move forward, just to remind everybody, if the two of you could just remind us where you're from and what was your top 3 Telltale games. What was your top 3 Telltale games, and pick one that was your least favorite?
I am a Let's Player, commentator, voice actor, whatever the heck, generalized thing people do on the internet. I do it typically. I have my own YouTube channel, Lucky Jack 20, and I primarily also do a lot of co-commentaries and fun little discussions with friends on my friend James Mann Extremes channel. That's where I mostly spend because I enjoy doing these sort of group sessions, but I do still do some solo stuff on my own channel. The quick forwarding is that I started off with Telltale long before the Walking Dead stuff, before it became mainstream. No, before the whole Walking Dead craze blew up.
You're a hipster.
So I started out with them actually around the time when Sam and Max and Bone, and they were my introduction to Bone. Great graphic novel, actually. Anyway, my favorite games from them probably would be Sam and Max Season 3, The Devil's Playhouse. That was a great little closure to that. There was Walking Dead Season 1, of course. I'm enjoying that. And it's kind of a tie between Walking Dead Season 3 and Tales of Monkey Island.
Okay.
I enjoyed them. They brought back almost the entire cast of the Monkey Island games for that, which, since a lot of them were ex-LucasArts to begin with, it was nice to see them working on that again. Least favorite would probably be the Wallace and Gromit one, because that one just kind of felt thrown together.
So the name is Alex. I'm from Chile, and I'm actually mostly active on Instagram at RokiMyArt. And my top 3 Telltale games are The Walking Dead Season 1, The Wolf Among Us, and Game of Thrones. And my least favorite ever is The Walking Dead Season 2.
Mm-hmm. I can see that. I answered the question during the Let's Hang discussion, but I think my top 3 would be in no particular order. Well, actually, in order, I think. Tales from the Borderlands, for me, was my favorite, just over The Walking Dead Season 1. Just barely. I didn't think anything could beat the Season 1 for me, but Tales from the Borderlands just beat it.
Still
I know.
gotta do that.
Tiny. by like hairs, little tiny hairs. And then for the third favorite, oh gosh, I forgot what my third favorite was, but I feel like what pops into my head, I don't know. I really liked what they did with personally. I really liked what they did with Batman. So I would say the first season of Telltale's Batman game I really liked. And then for my least favorite, the irony is this was the game other than The Walking Dead Season 1, since they made The Walking Dead Season 1, that they actually, Telltale actually got a profit on, was Minecraft Story Mode. That was probably my least favorite. I enjoyed Minecraft Story Mode, but compared to all the other games, I didn't like it as much as some of the others. So
Okay.
okay, so let's just dive right in, scene by scene, because we pretty much overanalyze everything when it comes to these Let's Talks and
Yeah.
just completely pick it apart. So I believe when we start, the episode just kicks off the next morning after
The incident.
the incident when AJ shoots
Marlon.
Marlon, thank you. It's been a while.
I know all of their names, don't worry.
Thank
Good,
you.
you can help me. You can help us.
Because I keep
They're my
forgetting.
children.
I keep forgetting
Yes.
the names of some of them. Ugh.
And you wake up the next morning, and then AJ. Well, one of you describe what's going on with AJ and Clementine that morning.
It's a really tense situation. They actually did a lot of cool little like cinematography tricks, like jump back and forth between the night before and that morning, where you're trying to like break down everything. And AJ is having this sort of internal conflict you're seeing of like, did he do the right thing? Because up until this point, he thought he was doing everything right and thought he had things under control. And now you have to have this difficult conversation to explain, depending on how you want to play Clem, how you're going to approach breaking down what he did. Do you support his decision? Do you crack down on it? Do you leave him feeling confused, hurt, remorseful, that kind of stuff, I guess. To sum up that whole interaction, how did you guys approach that?
Yeah, well, I just want to say real quick that the switches between what happened and the flashbacks are so well done. Like, so well done. And I was surprised when I was watching because I thought they weren't going to pick up straight from where they left it. But they did. And I do have to say that the moment where Louis says, "What the fuck did you teach this kid?" I must have replayed that moment so many times because the emotion in his voice is just so well done. Like, I replayed it over and over and over again. And the way I would have approached it if I had played it, at first, my first gut instinct was to make him regretful of his actions because it's just who I am. But then after giving it some thought, I think if I played the game right now, I would make him believe that he did the right thing, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a tough call, especially if you are a parent, I think, or
An
you're
older
taking care
sister.
of, or sibling,
Yeah.
yes, or somebody who takes care of a younger person. How much do you want to get into the gray areas with kids? Because I think when you're growing up as a kid, naturally your world is the world is all about black and white. This is good, this is bad, this is evil, this is right, this is wrong. Just because we believe that it's so much easier for them to process and to understand than all of the grays in the world, because the world is actually very gray.
Right.
So I could have, in a perfect world, I would have wanted to have treated AJ not like a little kid, because I think in this universe, he had to grow up a lot faster than somebody who was not a child who was not born into the apocalypse. So I always try to treat AJ like an adult, I don't treat him like a kid. And so if I was treating somebody like an adult, I would want to be more gray with them and say, you know, you shot this person, you killed this person, everyone thinks you did it wrong. The problem was, I think the choices were a little bit more in the black and white area. And when Telltale gives me things that are black and white and doesn't give me the opportunity to pick a gray area, then I tend to fall on the black a little bit. Just when I'm, it depends, but for this particular case, I didn't want AJ to completely ignore the fact that there might be some cases where it's not that simple as, you know, shooting this person was the right thing or the wrong thing to do. It's a little more complicated than that. And so I didn't end up choosing the one that made him feel better completely because I didn't want him to be blissfully naive. That he shouldn't at all think about what he did, that he should just be like, oh yeah, I did the right thing and be done with it. I wanted him to think about it more. So
Right.
That's how I approached that thing too. I definitely wanted him to understand that he did something wrong, or he had. I pressed more on the fact of he wasn't a threat anymore. We had disarmed him. You didn't have to shoot him. Now that was going beyond what we should be doing. And in that conversation and elsewhere, again, this whole season, it seems to almost be like they're trying to they are trying to gray the area a bit more. They never, again, I don't think at any point, AJ and Clem, I don't think they ever refer to walkers as walkers or muertos anymore. Everything is just a monster. So this generalization inside AJ's mind of, oh, a monster could be anything and I should shoot it no matter what, that was a problem. And so yeah, I kind of went the same approach as you. I wanted him to understand that he needed to crap, I'm forgetting the word, atone. Now I'm forgetting the word he was remembering. I'm now forgetting the word he's forgetting. So he had to atone for what he did, that he had to apologize, that he owed them something. And actually in my playthrough, this was the one moment out of the entire episode where I actually was frustrated at the choices given to me, which was when you rationalize he wasn't a threat. We had his weapon. He didn't have to shoot him. AJ then brings up Lee and says, well, Lee didn't have a weapon. Lee wasn't a threat. That means you murdered him. And out of the 4 choices that were given to me, not a single one mentioned the fact of, you know, depending on your playthrough, Lee asked for that. Lee begged Clem to do that.
Right.
Clem just didn't up and do that. Lee had a very conscientious decision to do that to protect Clem from him in case something bad happened and they got trapped. And the game didn't give me the option to do that. And I'm just sitting there going, well, that's not how. I think Clem would have brought that up at some point.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was just the trickiest part that pulled me away from it for a moment. But no. Then that was how I handled the preparation for facing everybody outside.
Right. Yeah, I completely different from that because the first Let's Play that I watched, they made AJ believe that he did the right thing. And the entire time it just made sense. Like, it flowed well and it didn't feel like the choices were weird or annoying, but that's just me.
Okay.
A question for the two of you. So it's clear that a huge theme running through this episode, or not this episode, but this season is what will AJ become based on how you raise him, basically. Like, he's following by your example, and your actions will affect ultimately what kind of person he will be. So my question for you is, and for Alex, obviously this is hypothetical if you were to play the game yourself.
Right.
Playing the game as Clementine raising AJ versus playing the game as Lee in season 1, setting the example for Clementine, do you think that as Lee, your approach to raising Clementine would be different or the same as playing as Clementine raising AJ?
It's
If that
a
question
mix.
makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. Because if I were to play season 1, which I haven't yet, which is terrible.
Yes, but if you were,
If you were, I would make Lee. I would roleplay Lee actually very harsh because I would roleplay him as my uncle, and my uncle is very harsh. But then I would roleplay Clementine as me. So the racing would be completely different. But still, there would be like lingering consequences from the way I roleplay Lee on my Clementine, which would make her slightly more harsher than I would be in real life, because it makes sense roleplay wise.
I think it was a bit. I think it was definitely different looking at how it's been going. Like I tried to be this. I tried to be as benevolent as I could back in season 1, and I tried to keep doing the right thing as much as I could because I kept. I guess back then I did not know how long the apocalypse was going to go on for, so I kept trying to like struggle to keep holding on to like if we can just outlast them, everything will just go back to normal. Now that it's been like 6, 7, some on years or so since it all happened, like
8.
8 years, jeez.
8 years.
8 years
yes.
since the apocalypse started. It just doesn't seem like it's going to end, and I guess I just through all these games and through all the different people I've been meeting and all the interactions, it just seems more and more like it seems like we were talking about the whole black and white thing. It seems more impossible to continue doing just good and try and keep what you like safe, and like there are things that have to be done, and yeah. I feel like my approach has been a little bit more different. I've been trying to be more, I guess, pragmatic in my approach with the decisions that should be made, and I'm trying to handle raising AJ with this ideal of killing shouldn't be something you do easily. You should never try to minimalize that action, because the second you do, that's when you've completely lost like that good part of you, I think. And I guess I myself minimalized how much my choices were going to impact AJ in the last episode, because I thought it was going to be kind of more like it was in the first season, where it was kind of more in the background. It was there, but it never really had a direct impact on things until like the final interaction with the stranger in season 1. But yeah, sorry, I'm rambling. It is definitely different. I'm having to adapt to things and having to be on our own as opposed to in a group more often.
For me, it was also very different, and this wasn't at all conscious, but it just worked out or played out that Miley and Clementine were the opposite of Alex, in that my Lee was very benevolent and not very harsh at all, and whereas my Clementine was definitely more hardened and a little more pragmatic with AJ by comparison. And a lot of it is because there are two main factors that are very different between the two situations. In Lee's situation, I think he was less conscious about raising Clementine and preparing her for the apocalypse, because I don't think he knew necessarily that the apocalypse was going to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
So I think his priority was more to protect Clementine versus let me make sure I set a good example for Clementine so that she can survive this.
Right.
And then with Clementine, she is protecting AJ, obviously, but in addition to that, she's constantly teaching him how to survive, which are two different things. And also just the sheer fact that Clementine was not born into the apocalypse. She knows what the world was like before everything just went completely out of whack. And I think Lee subconsciously was trying to maintain what little innocence that little girl had to hold on to, whereas AJ is totally different. This is all he knows, and so I don't think my Clementine is making it as much of a priority for him to hold on to an innocence that wasn't really there to begin with, at least not in the sense that it was for Clementine when she was a child.
Right.
So that's why my approaches were completely different.
Okay.
So moving on to the next scene,
Yeah, then 10 walks in, and this actually, there's interesting how your choice affects what happens next, because if you made AJ regret his actions, he rejects the fireman that 10 tries to give him. But if you
Oh.
make AJ feel okay with his actions, he'll accept the fireman, and then he'll have him later.
Oh,
So
that's cool. I
I
did not
thought that
know
was
that.
super interesting.
Yeah, that was a nice little like small way to like again show that immediate effect. Yeah, and
Yeah.
my AJ rejected it, saying that firemen do good things and he did a bad thing, and yeah.
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 And then the
Um,
funeral.
yep, they have a
The
little funeral
funeral.
for both people, and you see real quick, like, I guess moving on, you do see some interactions. Like, of course, Violet is definitely on Team Clementine, keep him here. Lewis, who just lost his best friend,
Yeah.
is very much like he doesn't he is, but you do again see this conflict of he's trying to deal with his best friend did really bad things to try and protect him and other people, but now he's gone, and now there's it looked like Asim was also sort of like, hey, Marlon was kind of a jerk for what he did, and they kind of, and Clem may have saved us from being turned in ourselves, but it was definitely, this is the part where you start seeing, I think Mitch really like became a lot more antagonistic in this episode,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I
which
loved the way Mitch was handled this episode. It was really well done.
I have my own opinion on that, but I'll say that for later. But just, yeah, definitely there were people who were trying to rationalize why we helped them out, and others who definitely did not want us at all. And as you summed up, they don't want us there anymore. The votes decided.
I think it's very easy for us, at least as the player, to be upset or angry at Mitch and
Lewis.
Lewis, just because you know they're giving Clementine such a hard time. But like Logan said, like Lewis's best friend was just killed, regardless of what he did.
Right.
And I think that it was one thing if Marlon didn't show any sign of redemption whatsoever, but he did. I think near the end he was at least surrendering, and for Lewis at least, to him that meant there was some light of hope that maybe he can reach out to Lewis and bring him back to the light side, or
But
whatever you want to call that.
then that was just
But
ripped from
then
him.
and that was just ripped away from him. AJ just became, judge, jury, executioner
Yeah.
in that moment, without any input from anyone else. So again, you can still argue that it was very justified and he did the right thing to protect everybody else from what you could perceive as a lunatic,
Yeah.
an
A
unhinged
monster.
ticking time bomb. Right, an unhinged ticking time bomb, and so I throughout the playthrough I tried to be cognizant of that, and not be completely, what the heck is your problems? Like, I know what their problem is.
Yes.
It's understandable.
Oh yeah. I wasn't super mad. I totally got it. It was interesting seeing the interactions between Lewis and AJ, because Lewis is trying to like struggle with the fact of this is still a kid, and he for the longest time was still trying to be this fun-loving person for the kid, but the kid also hurt him in a really like personal way. And yeah, there's definitely, he didn't go through a lot of good things this episode, but
Yeah, and Clementine and AJ haven't been there for very long.
yeah.
Like, they don't have the history with them. These are just newcomers who they rescued, who they rescued and brought into their home and fed them and put a roof over their head, and
Yeah.
this is what happened when they did that. So it's
Yeah, and I mean, like, and it didn't, and getting kicked out didn't have any huge lasting impact, because again, you didn't really have a lot of time to be with this group. So thinking in my head, like, we were like just 2 days ago we were out on the road anyway, so it's just another pit stop, I guess. But so I was not in the choices, in the conversation choices that followed. I was not like overly like uh toxic back to them, I guess. I was not like, oh yeah, screw you, you didn't like. No, I was accepting of it, and also I felt that me fighting the punishment, peek the mic, sorry, me fighting the punishment would have set the example to AJ that he didn't do something bad. And I thought, well, if I accept this punishment, that will help instill
Right.
in AJ the fact that there are still consequences to things we do in this world.
You want it to be consistent.
Yeah.
That's Colin is a teacher who deals with kids all the time. It's very important. He keeps saying to be consistent. You can't just say something and then go back on it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they don't respect you and they don't take you seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So, what I found interesting with AJ is that in the first episode, he seemed not at all really interested in sticking around with this group of people. I think he was saying things like, we've, as Lucky Jack said, we've been on the road all this time. You know, we don't need anyone else. And then he just kind of did a complete 180. Now that they're actually trying to kick him out, he's like, no, I actually want to stay here. I actually like these people.
Right.
So I think that's
I'm
really
trying to
interesting.
remember if he switched his mentality like halfway through episode 1. I think he did at one point, especially
he
after
did?
he made friends with 10.
Yeah, I think that was it. Once he
that's
made friends
true.
with 10, now he had some anchor,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
Otherwise, we had led him to be very untrusting of people and nervous around others, and
Right, because everyone can be a threat.
except for Disco Broccoli, he was never a threat.
Yes.
But yeah,
I was so tempted for Halloween to dress up as Disco Broccoli.
I don't. It probably wouldn't
my
be too
God.
hard, but yeah. So
The disco part is not hard. The broccoli part is a little hard.
if you found I feel like there's got to be a broccoli costume out there somewhere.
I could, well, with I was gonna say with Lewis's hair, I could dress up Lewis as Disco Broccoli because his
Oh my
hair is
God.
just like, just dye his hair green.
Good.
Anyway,
Yeah.
moving on to the next scene. What comes next?
They kick you out, regardless of your choices and conversations, and they're now walking you out into the woods up to the edge of their safe zone.
Yeah, before that,
Yes.
did you give Lewis the gun or did you keep it?
Oh yeah, that is actually. Oh yeah, we should talk about that. Yeah, if there was ever going to be a major decision, that would probably be one of them.
Yeah. Well, what did you guys do, or what would
I
you
would
have
have
done?
given it. I would have given it to him because that's just who I am. But I don't know about y'all.
Okay.
I kept the gun because I was thinking short term, like I do not want AJ to be anywhere without some form of protection, and it just played in my head like, oh, they could totally have pulled something where, oh, now maybe we're outside and Lewis has the gun and he doesn't know how to shoot because he's never had to do this before, but AJ knows how to shoot and that's it's in more capable hands if it's in his. I don't know, just I was trying to like think ahead and feel like, okay, at any point in time they could pull something where AJ is now somewhere without protection. He could have had this to protect himself.
For me, without hesitation, I kept the gun because it belonged to us. That was our gun. It wasn't like we were borrowing it from anyone. That was the gun that we had when we got here. B, I can understand, it's their right if they want to vote us off the island. That's fine. It's voting us off the island. Like, it's their right if they want us to vote us off. But, taking a gun that's a great source of protection out there, something that could mean literally the life and death, not only to me, but AJ, because I'm supposed to be protecting AJ.
Right.
That's where I draw the line. I'm like, you can take away all of this from us, but you're not taking away the stuff that we brought with us because that's our stuff. That's not your stuff
Right.
to take.
Right.
So,
And sure,
Well,
he was.
for me, I just wanted to, like, I don't know. I had when I was watching, I just knew that he was going to give it back eventually, as soon as they let us go. I just knew, like, I was like, he's gonna give it back, like, he can't keep it forever. And also, I trust Louis a lot. And, and also kind of, like, try to show a bit of trust as well. Sadly, the first Let's Play I watched did not give the gun, so I didn't know the consequences until way later when I eventually watched it.
okay.
But yeah, I would have given it because of that. Because I just knew he was going to give it back. Like, he wasn't taking it permanently.
I don't know. I don't actually know what the consequence is for giving him the gun. So you can mention that when it becomes relevant.
Yeah, they started talking.
Oh,
Poor little AJ starts complaining and talking about what's gonna happen, and you can see the guilt in Louis' face.
oh.
And then you arrive at the edge of the safe zone, and then if you gave the gun to Louis, he's like, "Oh my God, I'm such an idiot. Here's your gun. Like I can't leave you without it."
Oh, that's nice of him.
And yeah,
Oh, okay.
that's what happens.
Okay.
Okay.
And then they leave.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
And yeah, I yeah, I think I tried to guilt trip them at one point because Lewis was all like, "Oh yeah, you've done this before. It's not that hard." And I had to bring up, Lewis, you've literally lived inside this academy's walls for 8 years. You've never left it, and you've never been on the road. And which again, good to keep that in mind considering what his personality and his, I
Yeah.
guess, character is later.
Then what happens next?
Abel. Asshole.
Abel shows up. Mm-hmm.
Which
Yeah,
I
the idiot. The first Let's Play I watched, they didn't attack him. They let him take the things. So I was like, oh
Yeah.
my God, how is this gonna play out if you killed him? Just to find out later that he just loses an arm. Classic Telltale.
He pulled a Kenny.
Yeah, he lopped off the arm and quickly ran. But I guess I would say, like, if you had let him go, if you had let him leave, fine. Why would he be shooting at you?
Because he's an ass.
Because, like, well, yeah, at that point, like, I pushed him into walkers. That was my bad. That was totally on me. He has every right to want to shoot at me and feel aggressive about
Yeah.
that. But if you would let him go, as we learned in the last discussion, if he would have just peacefully left, I guess, I don't know why he would feel the need to start shooting at you. That's he did not. He didn't. I don't
do
think.
admit that.
Yeah, they were trying to get us to make Clem and AJ join their group, so that accounts for his aggressiveness. And also there's the fact that Brody was terrified of him, so she knows what he's capable of. So that also makes sense that he's the way he is.
I was saying just not the best diplomatic approach to lead your discussion with a buckshot round into a nearby tree.
Yeah,
Just
I mean, I
to
agree. If in episode 1 you let him take the food peacefully, I don't. They should have made it so that he's not just outright shooting you in episode 2, because that really doesn't make any logical sense. If he's trying to convince you, it's one thing, because you were compliant to him. He was compliant. You were compliant to him in the first episode. Why would he immediately jump to shooting her to convince her to do what he wants if she was actually compliant to him in episode 1? I think that's
Yeah.
a very valid in continuity.
Maybe he's just
Like,
still
issue.
bitter that AJ pointed a gun at him, but that still doesn't make sense. Classic
I mean-
Telltale.
just yeah, it's definitely like it's totally reasonable for him to assume that we could be dangerous. Just maybe don't start the fight yourself. Maybe he could have led in with the gun pointed at us and just talking, not yeah. Also, in my case, if you did push him into the walkers, I am impressed that thoroughly through the entirety of this episode, he is able to fire a sawed-off shotgun with one arm with no recoil and no like
Yes.
damage to his arm. Like, I'm not just crazy. You have to
Yes.
brace for those kind of things, right?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Then beautiful Lily shows up.
Yes.
I do have to admit that I knew she was coming. Everyone knew, to be honest.
Everyone.
But
knew.
I saw the leaks. I saw the leaks that were going around, so I was very spoiled. But her introduction was like I didn't realize it was her until she spoke, and I saw the green subtitles because her classic green subtitles.
Oh, they did keep that.
I didn't notice
Yeah.
that. Oh.
But the way they kept her like out of the shot without being obvious about it, it's like, oh yeah, we're hiding this person, but you cannot tell that we're actually hiding them.
Yeah.
It was really well done. It was very well
Yeah.
done.
What are your thoughts on meeting Lily again after 3 seasons?
Actually, well, hypothetically, if I were to play season 1, Miley would have been best friends with Lily and would have not gotten along with Kenny at all whatsoever. which was the case of the very first Let's Player that I ever watched playing The Walking Dead. He was completely 100% Lily and completely against
Mm.
Kenny. So I actually don't hate her, and I really like her as a character. So it was a very pleasant surprise to have her back, and the way she was revealed was really well done.
Um, I didn't surprise me, her reveal, and it didn't surprise me the position she was in now. Her personality and how she left everyone in season one pretty much led to me to think that she was gonna like end up being some big leader or some big like I felt like she took some of the I felt like she took some traits from her father and was just sometimes a bit more confrontational than she should be, and I don't know. It definitely surprised me, and I was not immediately won over to her side. I was not really a friend of hers in season one, and that wasn't the case here either.
I was, as Alex said, it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone that Lily comes back simply because of the uh, specific choices that they did mention. Of
Mm-hmm.
all the choices that they could have kept out, they didn't keep out the detail of what happened to Lily.
Right.
When they were giving this is what happened previously in your other seasons. So,
Here's
but I
Lily.
didn't know. Yes, but I didn't. You're right. The way that they introduced her, how that was the camera angles were utilized to keep her hidden without being obvious was so awesome.
Mm-hmm.
My attitude with Lily is I was pleasantly surprised to see how um, at least friendlier she was being with Clementine, knowing that they
Right.
have a history together. But was also um, I was also very cautious, anxiously cautious around her because while Miley and Lily, for the most part, got along pretty well, except for what happened at the very end because she shot my Doug, and you do not shoot my Doug.
Rest in peace, Doug.
um, but I don't think there was ever a scene in season one that really showed her relationship to Clementine. It didn't seem like she interacted with Clementine hardly at all, even in a motherly or big sisterly kind of way.
She did.
So
There are some shots, but like very little. She did worry about her though. She worried about
okay,
her in season
no,
one.
that's good. That's
Yeah.
good. I think it'd been so long, so like I wasn't sure how close Clementine and Lily really were when they were together, even though Clementine was a child at the time.
Right.
So it was just one of those, oh, neat, like Lily's back, but it's also like, I don't know what she's like now because it's been so long. I mean, Clementine's a completely different person than she was back in the day, so I had no idea what kind of person Lily is now, especially since she didn't seem very stable when we left her.
Right.
So, um, yeah, so I was very anxious
I
around
have
her.
to say I was very surprised by her position in the place in the thing. I don't know the word. How you call that?
Her I guess just say her team or something.
Her
Yeah,
group.
kind of her group. Because at first, when they first kind of showed that, when I first found out that she was gonna be back, I was like, oh, she's gonna be the leader of this group. But then I saw the leaks, and based on the leaks, it didn't seem like that. It seemed like she was gonna be like, I don't know. It didn't seem like she was gonna be the leader. So when
Mm-hmm.
the episode dropped and she was actually the leader, I was surprised. It was actually a surprise to see her as the leader after I thought she wasn't going to be.
I mean,
Okay.
and for all we know, they could still, considering what we learn about her group later, it could be within reason that maybe she's not like the leader, but she's like one of their like higher ups, and like they have like squads and stuff maybe. But for now, yeah, she's definitely the leader of this particular like squad, I guess. Um, did you accept her hand when she tried to help you up?
Hell yeah.
I did because at that moment she was being friendly to me. There was no reason for me to burned the bridges yet, if I was going to burn any bridges. So,
Me, I felt the bridges had burned a long time ago.
oh,
Especially
okay.
especially when she started mentioning how like she regretted nothing about stealing her RV and how Lee was stupid to want to trust her and give her any form of
Oh,
redemption.
mm-hmm.
Because she said like she outright her character says I don't want to be redeemed basically right there. So I did not accept the hand and got up by myself because I didn't want AJ to feel like I was now buddy. I didn't want anyone to think I was now buddy buddy with these people who clearly are on the wrong side.
Was there any immediate consequences of not
No,
accepting the hand?
now she was just like, it's like, oh, you've grown up or something like that. She was just the tone. I guess
Yeah.
maybe that would lead into at the end of the episode where it talks about how you left people feeling. Maybe that's where that comes into play. But
Hmm.
yeah,
Right. It's
it's
funny because one of the choices you get before she offers her hand can lead to Lily stepping on Clementine. Like
oh
if you're rude to her, if you're mean, she steps on Clementine. And then she
Oh.
immediately offers her hand, like, hey, get up. It's like, why?
hey, no hard
Wow,
feelings.
that's hilarious.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a little jarring.
That makes her seem like, yeah, like doing that makes her seem totally different.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Step on you. Oh yeah, here.
But yeah, in conversation, it's revealed that they were the people who were contacting Marlon and arranging for all of this
Yeah.
trafficking, basically, and
Yeah.
they're holding AJ at gunpoint and demanding that you guys become the new contact. And even though we're trying to convince them we don't even belong with them anymore, we have no say over there. And
Hmm.
uh, then what happens?
And then, well, there's a big choice on. It seems like that Violet and Lewis were listening in on what was happening, and you have the ability to either tell them to shoot or tell them to run.
Right.
Mhm.
And if
I
you don't,
ended
you
up,
die.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
which is what happened to me.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I
I mean,
just didn't tell them to do anything, thinking they would think for themselves and either decide to shoot or decide to run, but it ended up just killing me in the
Yeah.
process
well, I'm glad I
because,
made a choice there.
Yeah.
So
My
what did
first
you?
instinct would have been to tell them to shoot, but
Mhm.
it didn't say who they were gonna shoot. They just wanted them to shoot to Abel, but they shoot
ah,
Lily instead. So it's okay. I
Oh,
still would have chosen to shoot.
so
I
so what
still
did
will
you?
choose to shoot if I play the game.
So what did you ultimately choose, Hark?
I think I told them to run.
If you tell them to shoot, Lewis gets shot
Oh, does he
Oh.
get like shot badly? Like,
in the arm.
okay. Um, while he's looking that
Let me
up,
double check. I'm double checking what I told
yeah.
you. Go ahead.
While he's double checking that, I told them to run because I didn't want them to be hurt. I didn't want them to think like I was now dragging him to that conflict. But at the other point is, if they're listening in, I was thinking to myself, good, they've now heard that these are the people who are bad and that these are the people who are going to do it. So I thought they need to get back to that school and warn people right now because if they get hurt, if we have another situation like what happened with Brody where people just happened to be with us and they got killed and we try to go back and say, listen, it's not, that's what I needed them to be alive to bear witness to what had happened. So I told them to run and they run they did.
Yeah, I did run. I did tell them to the run. I'm watching it right now. So far, Lewis hasn't been shot yet,
Yeah, no.
but I did tell them
If
to
you
run.
tell them to shoot, Lewis gets immediately shot in the arm.
Ouch.
Ah, okay.
Does
And
either Abel
later Violet says 6 inches over, and we would have been digging another grave. So it was serious.
I see.
does
So
do Abel or Lily suffer any injuries on their side if you tell them to shoot?
Lily gets shot in the shoulder.
okay. Yeah, because my intention for telling them to run was I was just trying to protect them. I didn't want any of them to get hurt, so I told them to run. So it's good.
Yeah.
That validates my choice. But
Yeah.
is there a negative for telling them to run? Does something bad happen if you tell them to run?
No, they just leave you. They just leave you alone with
Okay.
the danger. So
Okay. Okay. So I made the right choice.
No, it's
We
not.
made the right
Yeah,
choice.
but like
Yeah,
the
you know,
immediate consequences is just that Lily gets shot, then Louis gets shot, and then Louis and Violin still run away immediately.
still run away. Because I was worried when I saw what happened to AJ, because they're running away, and then something. I noticed the wound that AJ had, so I thought, did he get bit? And I was
Oh,
like,
what?
no, he didn't get bit. I thought AJ got bit, but no. I was like, so when I found he didn't get bit, I was like, did he get shot? And I was like, no, he didn't get shot. It was shrapnel. He got
Yeah,
He
hurt
got
by
shot.
shrapnel or
Abel
something.
shot him.
with some buckshot. Yeah. So
Okay, so the shrapnel was part of the shot. Okay,
Yeah.
so
which that
which go ahead. What are you gonna say, Logan?
I'm sorry, it confused me because later, so he got shot running away. So he got shot in the back. But but later, when you remove it, it's out the front. But yet,
He went all the way through.
I guess, but like, so then you don't do anything to the back. The only bandage, like, then he's saying put. Then someone's saying put pressure on the front. When you want to put pressure on the back, and I just, I don't know. I just
Yeah,
the actual recovery assumed that he got shot in the front when he. I don't know. Sorry.
Don't question video game logic.
Okay.
Yes. Ooh.
Oh, spooky.
Good thing to point out, though. Good thing we should be pointing out those holes, whether it's in the front or the back.
Nice.
Sorry, AJ. So after you find out that AJ got wounded, you meet somebody new.
Someone really cute. Not yet though, because he looks very bad with that mask.
They did. I will say the reveal of how they revealed him was very clever. How it looked
Yeah.
like it was going to be like, because you just went through like 2 rounds of this. They do these new like brawler style arenas with you versus like walkers, and I did like the strategy of that. I liked that it wasn't just quick time events all the way. It was like you had to plan out: do I stun this person to buy me time to kill someone else, or kill them immediately? I like that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
The character's name was, I forgot his name.
James.
Just remind me. James. He ended up very quickly, in a very short amount of time, ended up being one of my favorite characters this season so far.
same.
I really liked him. Not only did he have the ASMR voice that all of the viewers really loved. Oh, it's Mr. ASMR.
Follow all that.
He just had a very interesting story, and he's from the Whisperers. So the Whisperers, if you read the comics, they are an actual group in the comics, and I'm not gonna spoil anything, but a lot of what he was saying about, taking the walker faces and then herding them around is very accurate, I think, with how the Whisperers as a group worked in the comics. So I thought it was really cool seeing that crossover.
Okay.
Yeah, because the game is canon in the comics universe, so
It was a really cool. I want to look into that more because that did seem like such an interesting idea to like literally like live amongst them and work with them and almost just treat them like animal. Like they have this mentality where they treat walkers like
shepherds.
any old livestock, kind of. Just they're,
Yeah. And they use them for their benefit.
Which
just
was-
like, you would with cattle or sheep or yeah.
It's such an
Right.
odd way to live, but it's also such an intriguing way to approach that whole like apocalypse. Even though in the back of my mind I was just thinking of Bill Murray from Zombieland for a solid like 2 minutes. Watch the movie; it's pretty good. Yeah.
Did you guys immediately trust James?
who would
Or
not
how-
trust that face? I mean, come on.
Who would not
With or
trust
with-
that face?
No,
With the mask or without the mask?
not the face he's wearing, the face, the
Right.
face.
His actual
okay.
face. I honestly, it was a surprise because I thought he was gonna be an old man. So when he took the mask off, my heart leapt. Yeah, and I was
So
immediately
you
like, Louis who? Hello there.
Aw.
So you didn't trust him until he revealed. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
But before that, you didn't trust him.
he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was I at that moment he was definitely someone I could trust more than the person shooting at me. Though the idea of like also the fact of like I began to trust him more as you talk, because as you talk, he reveals that he's no longer with his group. They did bad things, I guess, because not only do they treat the walkers like livestock, they also treat the walkers and how they handle them almost like a bioweapon, and they will lead herds to communities so they can pillage from them with the walker force. Which again, that seems interesting. It's almost like what Michonne did with her walkers, just elevated more. But it was definitely it's definitely when we learned that you and him share a common enemy, which was Lily's squad. That was when I'm like, okay, I feel like I can trust you, because I feel like once people share a common enemy, now that has helped their bonding so much more, because now you have a common goal in mind.
Right.
So yeah, when he offered the apple, I accepted it, and I think that would have been another choice.